Hi and good evening. My name is Deanne Battle, and this show is called The Composite. We are looking at season 2, episode 5. Now, initially, I had sent out a message that I was going to go on at 8:30, but I had some other stuff come up, some family business to attend to. So now it is almost 9:30. But I'm here. And so if you're here or if you will be here eventually because you watched the replay, thanks for joining me. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Well, last episode was Story Hour, and I think I have more stories. Here's what I'm thinking about. I'm just thinking about aging, right? And so a lot of people think about it, right, in terms of like, oh, yeah, look at this gray hair. And, oh, like this thing is sagging or this thing is flabby or whatever, like, whatever. This wasn't always gray, but this was definitely always flabby. So that hasn't changed too much for me. But, what I'm thinking about is just that, like, we don't have any social safety nets in this country. So I'm middle-aged. I am single. I live alone. I have my little furry friend here, right? Oh, let's see. Come say hi. The one time I want you to say hi. So my little furry friend here. And so it's just like, yeah, when you're in your 40s, people want you to start thinking about like retire. Well, you should think about it before then, to be fair. But at the late end, yes, you start, thinking about your retirement, like what that's going to look like, in your 40s and things like that. Or, you're thinking about, where you're going to, where your parents going to be, right, in terms of like some certain people, if you have to put them in an institution or facility, or if you have the wherewithal for something like that, where your kid's gonna go to college, like, have you saved up enough money? Sorry, I just setting up my computer there. And so I don't have those obligations, but here's the thing. With those obligations comes community, right? And so I'm pretty sure that I mentioned this on season 1, that, my experience during the pandemic really made me contemplate community and not take it for granted, right? Because when you're a middle-aged Black lady, it's very easy for the entire world to forget about you, that you even exist, right? And so, I'm thinking like, okay, well, what can I do to have a community, to create a community for myself? I mean, I have friends from earlier parts of my life, earlier jobs or, earlier school situations, my great college friends, my great high school friends, so on and so forth. But, everyone's living their life. Those at this point are not friendships where, like, on a weekly basis, hey girl, where are we going? Or, oh, do you want to eat lunch or something like that? Those are people that I see like maybe once or twice a year at the most. So that's not really community at this point, right? Like, community to me is, oh, I have a flat tire. Can you help me change my tire? Or can you give me, the name of a mechanic? Or, oh, you need someone to look after your kids? Okay, cool. I'm not doing anything on Saturday. I can do that. And then, oh, can you help me, shovel snow off of my car and things like that. Like, to me, that is community, and I don't have access to any of that. So what that means as a single person that lives alone is that anything that I need, I have to pay for, right? Nobody's doing me any favors or like helping me with anything. Like, everything that I need, I have to pay for. And, I have a really funny story in relationship to that. So I was, my last job, people would advertise when they were getting rid of their old furniture. and that you can get it secondhand. Excuse me. So one guy, he had a really cool, actually, entertainment center that would be perfect for the TV that I have placed on it. And he was just like, well, it's free, but I just need somebody to, take it like this week. So I emailed him back and I said, oh, wow, this is great. Yeah, I'll definitely take it. Like, I take all of my furniture pretty much is secondhand, right? Because it's just, again, I live alone. Like, do I want to, invest my meager salary paying like $6,000 or $7,000 for a couch or something? No. I ain't got it. But I still want furniture. I still want to live like an adult human being. So secondhand furniture is a really great way to do that. And we'll put a pin in that too, because I have a separate story about secondhand furniture around where I live. But anyway, so he had, this entertainment center. He was willing to give it to me for free. I was willing to take it for free. So he brought it out to the parking lot, and he and I uploaded it, or, picked it up and put it in the trunk of my car. So I lowered the back seat, and this entertainment center, it's like long, rectangularly shaped. It's, was sitting in the back of the car. So I lowered the back seat. It's covering the back seat and the trunk. And then I proceeded to just drive around everywhere with that shit in my trunk for like 2 to 3 months. Why? Because I didn't have anybody to help me take it out of the trunk. And I'm like, well, I don't know, like, how to make this work, because I can't lift it up the stairs. I live on the 3rd floor. Like, I can't take it up to the 3rd floor by myself. And then, it just seemed like, oh, if I got it for free, like, am I really going to hire a moving company and pay like a couple of $100 at the bare minimum, if not more, for them to move it? But another funny story, I was headed to Vermont, last month. I was headed to Vermont for a writing workshop. And so it was like, oh crap, I got to get this thing out of my car. Why? Because I need to raise the back seat so I can put my dog in the car so my family can look after my dog, so I can get my dog to New York, right? So switch that. So I can drive to New York with the dog in the back seat, therefore, enabling my family to look after the dog. So I was like, crap, I got to get this entertainment center out of my vehicle and upstairs. And so here's what ended up happening. I ended up spending the next couple of hours just knocking on random neighbors' doors that I had seen before, saying, hey, I live in this community. I live alone. I just really need help. Someone to help me get this entertainment center upstairs. I was like, I'll give you $20, $30. Like, I just need at the most 10 minutes of your time. And so, one set of neighbors, they just didn't answer the door. They looked through the window at me, but they didn't answer the door. One woman looked at me like I was really strange, but then she said, oh, well, there are these single guys that live across the street. Maybe they would be willing to help you. But then, so that was 2 people. Another house, I think they didn't answer. So yeah, like at 2 houses, they didn't answer. But then one house, right, there was a young boy, like, let's say he was like, I don't know, I think he was like 12. And his father answered the door. So he saw me, talking to the dad. His mom. And I said, listen, I just would need, one person to just help me. I'm willing to pay. I'll Cash App it immediately. No questions asked. I just need to get this thing out of my car. And so she was just like, oh, well, no, I'm sorry, I won't be able to help you. She closed the door. But then the boy was like, wait a minute, hold on. How much is she paying? And so his mom told him. So he came outside and he, ran after me. He was like, listen, miss, if that's what you're paying for 10 minutes, then, I'm willing to help you. Now, his dad came out with him, which I understand because he was a young boy. And so he and his father helped me, and I offered to pay the father as well. But, he was like, no, that's fine, because they saw like I was legitimately, and they even came in the apartment. They were like, well, damn, like, yeah, you live alone. You're trying to move furniture. And they were like, well, if you need help again, let us know. But I'm bringing this story up because these are this is what happens when you don't have a network of people to help you, right? You're walking up and down the street, basically begging for help. And I don't like doing that, I feel like I'm a helpful person to know, to the people that know me. If you need me to, sometimes people are like, oh, can you read this paper and give me suggestions? Or, oh, can you write a recommendation for this thing? Or can you do X, Y, or Z? And so I try to be helpful, but it just seems like for the most part in my life, like not always, right? Because I don't want to overlook the ways in which people have been helpful to me. But just, I don't know, maybe it's a COVID thing, but it just feels like I just am constantly getting stuck by myself holding the bag. And it's just super exhausting and it's very frustrating, right? When I'm like, okay, I don't have much money, but I have I have some coins that I can give somebody to help me. And then you can't even get anyone to help you. But, and then I'm thinking about, like the people that I know that are married or the people that I know that have really big families that live close to one another and they don't have to ever worry about things like that. And it's just like, it's just a really bad place to be because I know as I get older, right, I'm going to be able to physically do less and less and less, right? And so it's just like, well, what does that mean? It's just like if you can't, physically help yourself or do for yourself as much but you don't have that built-in network, right? So that basically means like, oh, well, if I ever can retire, I have to factor in all of these fees, right? Like I have to factor in a fee, moving fee, because like, I'll have to hire random handymen to move shit for me. I'll have to factor in random mechanics fees and stuff like that. And you might be like, oh, well, everybody has to pay for that. No, not everyone has to pay for every little thing. Most people, right, you do have expenses in your life, food, utilities, your house or your apartment, your car, blah, blah, blah. But just a simple thing of, I just need a set of hands to help my set of hands move a piece of furniture. And then I have to spend like damn near 2 hours trying to find help. That's terrible. That's really terrible. And so it's just, my personal experience is we don't have communities in this country, in this society, right? And so you really just have to surround yourself with people like, okay, I can rely on these people can rely on me. I was sick earlier this year. I've probably mentioned this as well. I was sick in February. I had the flu, and I live alone. So it's just like I had to crawl out of bed to take the dog for a walk, right? Because there's nobody else to walk the dog. I wasn't eating because there was nobody to feed me, right? It's just like all of these things. If you're having a really challenging time, it sucks to go through that alone. And I've had to do that on a regular basis, continually throughout my life. And I'm just at the point where it's just like, well, how can I avoid that, right? And so I've started looking into intentional living communities, right? But then that has its own challenges, right? Because everybody has like, their own house rules and stuff like that. And I mean, does that really jibe with my way of life and things that I believe? I don't know. But I have to try to do something because the situation that I'm in right now is not good, right? It's just not good. You can't, let me put it a different way. I would hope, right, if you educate yourself, if you work hard, if you try to contribute to society, that you have more to look forward to than just an empty apartment. I would really hope that. But that's the situation that I'm in, and I know I'm not alone. So that's why I wanted to do, tonight's story time video. I don't know what the game plan is, but I have to figure something out. Like, I need a network of people that I can rely on a regular basis, because I don't have that right now. And it's scary, right? Because it's just like, oh, well, what if you get robbed? What if you have an accident or something like that? And it's just like, oh, like, I'm at this point, I used to morbidly joke with a friend. I would be like, oh, if I died in my apartment right now, how many days would it take for somebody to find me? So, and I think about this a lot. So I think at this point, how many days? I think it would take 2, maybe 3 days for someone to find me. Now, to be fair, though, I do have the dog in here. So if the dog started whining, maybe they would find me in a day or 2 instead of 2 or 3 days. But again, that's not the situation anybody wants to be in, right? You want to feel like, oh, if something happens to me, that there's this immediate effect on the universe. But that's just not the case, right? And everything that we do in terms of technology like this, or in terms of like the ways in which we talk past each other, or the ways in which an increasing number of things are automated, right? So you don't have to personally interact with folks, and it saves companies money, right? But all of these advancements degrade the quality of human connections that you can have. And so, I'm just kind of rolling with the punches and dealing with the aftermath of that. But this shit is stressful and it's hard. And so, all of that being said, I want to try to find a way out of it. I don't know what the way forward is right now, but that's what I'm thinking about, this week, and I think a lot of it was because, again, I had a kind of like interview type of thing with an intentional living community, and, it was pretty chill, but it just, I think what I'll do is maybe try to get a tour there and see, what their facilities are like and everything, and, just see what the vibe is, in real life, person to person. But, yeah, that was my solution, because, like, I don't know what else to do. Like, my family lives far away. I do have some family a little bit closer, but everybody has their own thing going on. Like, I can't really rely on those connections. So it's a lot. It's a lot to feel like, oh, okay, I am my only resource, and it's like not new. I feel like most of my adult life has been like that, but I think there's a level of starkness that comes with it when you pair it with age, right? Because, let's say, for instance, when I would be out and about in my 20s and something would go wrong, like, let's say, I think one time one of the wheels came off my suitcase, and it was like a heavy suitcase. So I'm like, oh no, and I'm like trying to drag it down the street, and someone's like, oh, young lady, oh, you look so distressed, let me help you. Like, ain't nobody trying to help my old ass now. Nobody's like, oh, hey, middle-aged lady, you look distressed, let me help you. That is not happening at all. Like, if anything, it's like, oh, your old ass should have known better than to buy that brand of suitcase, so good luck. It's a totally different ball game, y'all. And anyone who tells you that it's not is bullshitting you. People do treat you differently. But, so like when I was younger, when I had to do stuff by myself, I didn't necessarily think about it as much because I was just like, oh, surely, because I'm not a feminist when it comes to any of that type of shit. Like with anything, to be honest, but definitely when it comes to like, oh, I can't pick this thing up and I need help to pick it up. No, 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 no. I will gladly accept your help and tell you please and thank you and keep it moving. It's just like, yeah. At those moments, that's not a moment for patriarchy or to critique patriarchy. Like, just take the help. But the help is few, the offers are few and far between now, right? So that's just why I have to factor it in, right? I really want to get myself into a situation where, like, honestly, I just want to be somewhere where it's just like, I can just just chill and just feel comfortable for the next 20 or 30 years. I've moved a lot. And I think I've learned a lot. I've exposed myself to a lot of different types of people, different ways of life. And so I'm grateful for the maturity and for the exposure that's given me. But it's just, it doesn't do anything to quell the fear, right? The very real fear of, okay, so as I get older, my body's going to get infirm. My mind is going to be infirm, and I really don't have a game plan in place to help me out with that. So I don't really know what being a senior citizen is going to look like for me at all. Like you can say, oh, this person has kids, or, this person has, again, a really huge family that will look after them, nieces and nephews, godchildren and all this stuff. Like, I don't have that, right? So what happens to me? What happens? And these are conversations I think the conversations are being had, but I don't think they're being had in a way where, we can all enter, right, the general square and talk about it. I think it's very siloed in, particular ethnic groups or particular, friend groups and things like that. But, I would love it if there were resources, or if there was just somebody that had a podcast or something about, like, what does it mean to be in that middling space, right? Because younger people are like, oh, well, we have it terrible because, we just entered the workforce and we don't have any money and no one listens to us, blah, blah, blah. Older people are like, oh, well, there's age discrimination and, there are evil home attendants and, people take advantage of the elderly, gold diggers, blah, blah, blah. But when you're in this middling phase, no resources. No, let me take that back. I'm not going to say no resources because I don't think anybody's getting resources really. I think, but the conversation is not being had, right? Because then it's like, oh, well, at least you're not, so young that you don't know what's going on, or so old that you're infirm and you can't, like, do anything for yourself. It's just like, oh yeah, you're an adult. You're getting up and you're adulting every day. You're going to work and paying your bills. But, I feel like the rest of it, right? The stiffness in your joints, or, needing to get different things replaced, and, menopause and all this stuff. I feel like it comes on, and society or your family or whoever, like, there's no preparation. Nobody talks to you about that. Like, even, earlier I mentioned retirement. I have had more conversations about retirement than I've had about menopause. but menopause is actually way closer to me than retirement is. So that's super interesting. I just think there are certain topics that everybody's like, oh, you'll figure it out, and it's like I feel like I'm flailing trying to navigate these topics, especially by myself. When you have, two heads are better than one most of the time. But, if you have a reasonable level-headed person, you can put your minds together and come up with stuff or whatever. But when you're by yourself, right, you're only seeing it from your one perspective. And so, there are benefits, right, to being older, right, because you know your own mind, and I have a better sense, of your boundaries and things you're willing to tolerate and things that you're not willing to tolerate. But then, on the flip side of that, right, that vacuum that's created around, like, I would say women, 35 and up, shit, if you talk to some of these Gen Z kids, like, it's like, once you hit 30, they're like, well, you might as well kill yourself. That's I'm kidding, but not. Like, some of these kids are wild on the internet. I think I talked about it before, the woman who was like, I'm going to need all women over the age of 40 to stop wearing pigtails. Like, how dare you? You're too old for that, blah, blah, blah. And had this whole diatribe while she's sitting there with a crooked ass wig on her head about women over 40 wearing pigtails. So that's not the best example, but it just showed, a certain mentality that people were connecting with. And I think it was a TikTok video. There's a certain mentality where I think it is like an Olympic sport to malign older women or women that are approaching older age. And I'm just speaking as a woman because I don't know the masculine experience, right? So I'm not going to try to speak on that behalf, on their behalfs. All I know is, like, as a middle-aged, working class Black woman, there are just certain things that I can see on the horizon, like, oh no, this is not going to be cool, right? Because the whole thing as a Black woman is, how can you be useful to someone else in terms of the space that you occupy, right? So I'm not going to be, at this point, anybody's big mama. I don't have any kids, right? I might be auntie at the most, but, even then, if I had nieces and nephews, like, would we be that close where they would be like, oh, we can't let auntie go to, the nursing home for poor people. We have to take her in. Like, there's a lot of ifs and, conditionals in that thing. And I really want to make sure that I am more secure than ifs and conditionals, So that's really what I'm thinking about and working on between now and the end of the year. Just trying to find a way out of this situation. And, I'm aware that it's a situation to me, but some people would be like, oh, that's life. That's not a situation. It's just like, no, fuck that shit. Like, I don't want to wake up when I'm 58 and be like, oh no, like, this is the situation that I'm in and there's no way out of it. You know what I mean? I want to have a game plan now. And so whether it's trying to find a compatible intentional living community, or maybe, like, I know that there are, for instance, there are travel groups it's like, oh, travel group for adults in their 30s and 40s, or, yoga classes for targeting, people in their 30s and 40s. So there have to be, like, living communities probably that, target my demographic at the moment. Or, or maybe if it's, apartment complex 40 and up, or I don't know, something. Because this doesn't feel sustainable. It doesn't feel steady. It feels like an IKEA table that's missing the little stabilizer piece at the bottom of one leg. So it's just kind of like teetering. Excuse me. And I'm a little congested. So there's that too. Other things. I wanted to mention secondhand furniture. I was really, really sad to hear that my favorite secondhand furniture place in Philadelphia, the Uhuru furniture store, they collect donations, and they sell furniture at really, really great prices, and it's just gently used stuff for the most part. Like, it's not, oh, this would be in the trash if it wasn't here. No, it's good stuff. And they're closing at the end of the month. That's how bad the economy is. Uhuru I've never been great at saying it. They've been open for over 30 years. That is crazy that they're closing. So I just saw that earlier today, and I was just like, damn, like a lot of stuff needs to fall away to make space for a new era that we're approaching. But, I'm not naive. I know that there are going to be massive, serious growing pains with all of this shit. Like, it's not going to just be like, oh, Uhuru's gone. A lot of small mom and pop businesses are gone. But look at all of these other small mom and pop businesses that have opened up. No, that's not what it's going to be. We're really looking at societal sea changes, right? And so, businesses or things that you could rely on just for GP in the past, yeah, that's not happening anymore. That's not going to cut it. So, tying it back to what I was talking about before, that's another reason why I'm like, yo, I need to have a network in place like yesterday, like last week, They were, and I had mentioned this on the last episode, right? They did the emergency broadcast system alert, and people were like, they're doing an alert, Some people, not everybody. Some people didn't even notice. But the people that were concerned, right, were very concerned. And all I could think was, okay, yeah, it's fine that they're doing the alert, but I'm like, at the end of the day, if some shit really went down, what would I do? I've got a dog and a car. Like, I'm not close to really anybody. So, where would I go? Right? Would I drive to New York where my family is? But, if anything, people would be trying to get out of the city, right? I live too far away from my parents to drive there if it's a massive emergency where you need to lock down somewhere. So that probably means I would be locking down by myself with my dog, which is pretty much what I did during the pandemic, which is whack. So, not that many options right now. Now, here's the thing about me. I am resourceful. When I see myself in a situation, I'll get myself out of it. But it's just like, kind of tired. Kind of tired of having to do that. Kind of tired of having to worry about that, right? Just like consistent insecurity, but I feel like that's the way things are set up. I mean, there's really nothing you can rely on right now. And so I'm just trying to adjust to that universe. But I think I'm going to log off for a couple of reasons. Number one, I am exhausted. I've been having student conference meetings all day, which is, part of the reason why my voice is raspy, telling students how they're doing, where they can improve in your class and things like that, giving them praise. But I think all of the meetings, for the most part, went really well. So I met with 20-something students today, 20-something students yesterday. So I'm a little tired. And then I still have more grading to do. So that's another reason why I want to hop off. I could probably get another hour and hour and a half of grading in before I officially pass out. So I'm about to do that. Yes, my life is exciting. Don't you wish you were me? But all of that being said, thank you for joining me for The Composite Season 2, Episode 5. Now, we didn't have any folks in the live chat here, but I am going to repost this on YouTube, so we will see what happens. And today is Friday. I'm going to try to go live again on Sunday. Mondays kind of suck for me because I have such a long commute. So I'm going to try to go live Sunday and see how that goes. All right. Pray for me. Thank you. Have a good night.